Okay, I'm very excited about our next guest. His name is Bill Burr. Let's teleport over to his location. Hey, and we're here live on location, an undisclosed location, a warehouse.
That was cool how you just did that.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like we were in the studio and then all of a sudden
it's ridiculous.
Snap your fingers and
now we're here. We
could have
just done it there, but we didn't. It cost us $15 million to do that.
All right.
Thank you for being part of the experiment. But I'm here with Bill Burr, famous, well-known comedian. And I want to thank you for coming to
famous,
the...
well-known, you had to take it down. Famous, well-known, sort of in this area.
Somewhere in the... Yeah.
Yeah,
you've seen this guy on the street. Bill Burr.
Exactly.
But thank you for coming on and doing this with us. And I got to ask you, when did you begin comedy?
I began comedy in 1992.
Yep.
I was going to Emerson College right down the street, and I kind of made like a New Year's resolution that I was going to finally get the balls to. Can I say that on this show?
No.
Okay, I can. All right.
Yes.
Get the testicles.
It'll make it harder for an editor if you just keep swearing throughout this whole thing.
For real?
Can I do whatever you want.
Oh, I can do whatever I want. All right.
Do whatever
yeah,
you want.
So I started in 1992, and I basically had made like this New Year's resolution that, you know, I had to do it at some point that year. And literally later on that month, Nick's Comedy Stop had a Find Boston's Funniest College Student competition, which was really just like this big scam to get a bunch of college kids in all hammered to watch their friends bomb on stage. And it was like Emerson, I think BU, Boston College, Northeastern or whatever. Right. So everybody had a night, and I went down, and I went up. I was supposed to do 5 minutes. I did like 3.5, forgot what I was going to say, and got off stage. But, you know, I'd done well enough that, you know, it just felt right. Yeah. I sucked at everything else at that point, so I just kind of went in that direction.
But you actually grew up outside of Boston, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Linfield when I was really little, and then from about 1976 on, I lived in Canton, Mass.
Ah, very nice. I'm also from Massachusetts.
Oh, all right.
Not that you care, but I just wanted to let you know
that. Yeah, I mean,
we're
not going to hang out or anything.
Yeah, I know. There's absolutely no shot of that. That much I know. But what was your, like, kind of, when you started doing it, what was your, like, welcome to stand-up comedy moment, other than the first time you did it?
Oh, God, there was so many. I'm still having those moments. Probably, I was in Lee, Massachusetts, performing in a restaurant. And the owner, who told me he was also a comedian, was sitting in the crowd with a notebook writing down all my jokes as I was doing them. And there was a bachelor party in the room next door, and they started gathering near the door with these fucking looks on their face that I knew something was going to happen. And I literally turned around, I just heard boom, and one of them throwing like a dinner roll, just whistled right by my head. As I banged myself in the head, slammed into the wall, and like I literally wanted to fight all of them. And the owner just sat there laughing. He just kept writing shit down as I'm telling them to go fuck themselves. And it was, I don't know, a million of those bombing. Yeah. That first time I went up in front of a black crowd and bombed.
You've done the Apollo, right?
Yeah.
How did that go?
It went good. I can't say I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Just because in my mindset the whole time I was on stage was not let's have fun. It was like don't get booed, don't get booed. Because I showed up there. Yeah. Because, you know, my friends were always giving me shit. Oh, these white rooms are easy. Yeah. You white comics have it easy and that kind of shit. So it was bugging me. So I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll do your room. So I started doing those rooms, and which led me to doing the Apollo. Right. And I was standing backstage, and literally like 2 or 3 people in a row in front of me just got booed mercilessly. Yeah. And I was just standing there at the side of the stage waiting to go on and just having this feeling like why am I here? I didn't need to do this, you know? I could have done Conan. I could have just gone the nice, simple white boy route. And so I went out there, and I just, like, I remember when I went out there, there was this one black dude, my whole set, like, say you're sitting like this, the whole set, he was like this, like, getting ready to leave. And, like, as I would start to bomb, he'd start to get up, and then he'd come back down. But it ended up going fine.
I like that.
And that's how I can describe it. It went fine.
It's a nice gauge, though, to have a guy who's like, got to win him back, kind of like nice, settled back and forth, you know?
Yeah, well,
it's one of those.
It's one of those things. If I did the Apollo and it wasn't going to be televised, and I was doing like 45 minutes, and I could say whatever I want, it's an entirely different thing, as opposed to you have to do 5 minutes, you have to be clean. Yep. And because if people start booing you in 5 minutes, you can't get him. I can't say you can't get him back. Lauryn Hill got him back. Yeah. But she was singing. Yeah. I don't know. I survived.
She can win him back.
That's all I can say is I survived it.
That's very nice.
Yes.
But you've also done Conan. You've done Letterman. What have those experiences been like? I mean, that's kind of like the big moment for any comic is when you get to that level that you can do Letterman, Conan, anything like that.
Conan I did a couple of times. First time I did Conan, I came out and I didn't use a mic. I went out with a lapel mic.
Nice.
And I went out there and I kind of practiced, because you get used to, it's like your security blanket. Yeah, so I went out there, and after a while I didn't know what to do with my hands, and I felt like I had done this enough, and I didn't feel mature enough to do like this move with one hand in the pocket, like I'm talking about the front page of the Times or something. So I just remember, the only thing I remember from that set was watching it like afterwards, and about 3 minutes into my set, I'm literally standing there doing stand-up like this, like a state trooper who doesn't believe your excuse. I was just sitting there, you know, my feet at 10 and 2.
Yeah.
And then it all looked closed off, and then it was like one of those things that I just kind of learned. Then I'll do it with the mic. You know, then I did Conan again. I used the mic, and it went better. I wore a suit that time, and then Conan came out, who's like a foot taller than me and also a redhead. Right. And Greg Fitzsimmons, a BU graduate here, called me up, said, "Nice job, but you look like Conan's gay little brother." So those were the Conan ones. Yeah. And then I went. Then I did the Apollo. Then I did like Comic View, and those were the years when I really grew as a comedian. Yeah. Because those were the years where I was really doing. You know, I was doing both circuits, but I was doing a lot of the black circuit, and it was like I knew I had material that I was doing in front of all white crowds. It wasn't really working. For some reason, as a white comedian, if you talk in front of an all white crowd and you go on the subject of race, they immediately pull back and think that you're going to say something racist. And it's like, I do it too. When I'm on TV and I see like a politician and I'll start going, you know, the Latino community, you immediately go, oh God, he's going to say something. And you know, even he doesn't mean to do it, but just out of lack of experience, he's going to end up offending somebody, you know? Right. So I started to do those rooms, and it was a huge thing for me because it's not like I'm the only white guy who ever did those, but I saw a lot of white guys when they would go in there, they would either do one or two things. They would either go on stage and they would either try to act black, or they would just shit on being white and just, oh, I'm a white guy, I don't know anything, like doing that shit. Yeah. So I used to literally have to leave the club when they were on there because it was so horrific to watch. So my goal was to go in there like, okay, can I still be, you know, Bill Burr from Canton, white as hell, and do my shit, and not have to like overly adjust. You always have to adjust a little bit, you know. Every crowd you got to kind of feel them out, but that was kind of like what I worked on during those years. That was about like a 3-4 year period. Right. Then I did Chappelle, and then I started doing Letterman. And I'm not just saying this. I really found that a very refreshing perspective. I mean, in your HBO, your One Night Stand, that you had made the joke of a white guy talking about black comedians using the material they missed from having a black pope. Oh,
and I just thought that was a very nice, interesting way to go about doing it.
Well, that was something I learned. Like when I first started doing those rooms, I couldn't tell one comic from another. Yeah. It was like culture shock. Everybody, you know, looked and sounded the same to me just because it was almost like hearing a whole new kind of music, you know, before you could tell who's good at it and who sucks. And then after a while, when I was watching the shows, it became just like, you know, any other show where it's like if you have 10 comics, 2 of them are really good, and then there's like the other, you know, 7 people are trying to be those 2, and then there's just one guy where it's just like, why are you even in the business? So. But now you're here for Comics Come Home, and it's a lot of, you have Stephen Wright, Dennis Leary, Greg Fitzsimmons, all these guys. What do you think? Oh, is Greg here tonight?
Greg's here tonight. Oh. So that's awesome. You'll be called gay again tonight.
Yeah, something I'll do. He'll tell me that I'm being gay.
But what do you think makes Boston so different from other comedy scenes, that you do have all these great voices coming out of Boston? Is there?
It was guys like Leary and Stephen Wright, Lenny Clark, Steve Sweeney, Kenny Rogerson, Frank Santarelli, all these guys who kind of in the first like 10 years solidified sort of like, I don't want to say the Boston style because each one of them has like a different style. Don Gavin's another guy. And it was, but they're standards for like what funny was, and people weren't stealing from each other. Like the one cool thing about the Boston scene is, when I was here at least, was there was really, people would police the scene where it's like if they saw somebody stealing, at first they pull you aside going, you know, so-and-so does something like that. Or even like your persona, if you started doing movements like somebody else, they'd take you aside and be like, you know, so you really had to focus on being unique. And if you did become, you know, if you got labeled a thief, I mean, you were done. You were doing all your gigs in Lee, Massachusetts, getting dinner rolls thrown at you. But I think that's basically why it is. And then I think also there has something to do with Boston being I don't know what it is about Boston. It's like that blue collar. You know, everybody's got the "I got fucked, dude" story. You know what I mean? Everybody. This is like it's this angry town. It's like the sucker punch capital of the world. I never really realized how angry this town was until I left. For years, it took me before. Because it was just a normal vibe. And then I'd go into a bar, you know, down around Southie and those kind of things. You just felt the tension, like at any second somebody's going to catch a bottle over their head.
Yeah, same. I've had the same feeling.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if it tied into like the you know, the whole you know, the success New York has and the you know, second best kind of thing, the underdog thing. I always find that the underdog is usually scrappier and harder fighting, you know. So. Maybe that has something to do with it. I have no idea.
Perhaps. I like that theory. I got to ask you one last question. Who influenced you most when you were becoming kind of a stand-up comedian? When you started, when you were thinking about doing it, what were the voices that really kind of influenced you to begin with? I know you kind of created your own, but afterwards.
It's kind of a never-ending thing. Like, people constantly inspire me to do things. But probably when I was starting, like the first comedians I listened to were George Carlin first, then I listened to Richard Pryor. Used to watch the Cheech and Chong movies all the time. I thought that they were hilarious. And then in the 80s, it was, you know, Seinfeld came with his style. And then Sam Kinison was huge, Dice Clay. I kind of liked guys, you know, Eddie Murphy. I saw him on the Raw tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, out at this place, Great Woods. I don't know what they call it now, but, you know, I had lawn seats for a comedy show, and he's wearing that blue leather suit. He's this little blue guy, just walking back and forth. The Weather Girls opened up. Remember that? It's Raining Men. Yeah,
I do.
So, probably those guys. And then when I actually started doing comedy, it was comedians that I watched, and I liked Frank Santarelli was huge for me. Sweeney, all the guys I mentioned, Kenny Rogerson, all those guys. You know, Leary had just hit. No Cure for Cancer had just coming out. So those are big things. And then when I went to New York, it was guys like Dave Attell, Dave Chappelle, Greer Barnes. There were so many guys. And I also was lucky enough, who I started out with a really good group of people, like funny guys. Like I started out with Dane Cook, Patrice O'Neill, and Robert Kelly from Torgasm. And we just kind of, every night we would go down to the clubs and we just pushed each other along. It was just like, every night Dane had something new, every night Patrice had something new, so I had to come with something new, you know what I mean? It was one of those deals.
All right, well, I got to thank you for being on the show. I have
cool.
to say that you've got a comedy album out. You can get it at www.billburr.com. It's emotionally unavailable.
That's right.
I also want to say that you have a show coming up, if you like to plan in the future, as I know BU students like to do. But January 12th and 13th, you'll be at the Comedy Connection in Faneuil Hall. And You'll be in Saugus the day before that if you want to drive, and also Rhode Island, I think, the day before that.
Yeah. Right? So if you're BU students, just go down to
just go the 12th and 13th.
Yeah, jump on the Green Line.
Plan early. Tickets are selling fast. So
also I got a movie coming out too with Charlie Murphy from Chappelle's show called Twist the Cap. Got a couple of quick scenes in there, so if you're not out drinking, go check it out.
All right, Bill, I gotta say, for me, this is like Make-A-Wish without the colon cancer. So thank you very much for coming here. So thank you very much.
I'll try to dress up a little more next time.
Yeah, Bill, come on.
I know. I'm sorry.
I told you, 3-piece suit.
Hey, you know, it's a benefit tonight.
I know, I understand. Thanks for being on the show. Bill Burr, ladies and gentlemen, in the studio.
Thank you.